All right, everyone. An Israeli minister the other day decided to suggest that it was definitely on the table to use nuclear weapons in Gaza, and this did not go over very well, including with Israelis, including with literally Benjamin Netanyahu himself, who subsequently decided to suspend the minister. I wonder why the fuck he did that. Hey, if we're gonna have even basic negotiations, maybe threatening to nuke a non-nuclear, largely civilian areas, not the best idea. It might inflame things. It might cause Hamas to really pop off, and it might cause the Palestinian people to revolt or something like that. And we've got 100,000 people in Palestine at the moment, so their safety could not necessarily be assured if literally everybody rises up against them. And so Netanyahu came out in fucking record time, like instantaneously, and talked him down. And he denounced the concept, said it's not on the table, it's not going to happen. No, we're not going to nuke Gaza. Can I ask something? When the Israeli Authority feels like it has to reiterate to the world that it's not going to launch a nuclear weapon, again at a civilian enclave, which it is completely surrounded and subjugated, in which currently there's also their own troops, that would be a little bit of a logistic problem now, wouldn't it? Don't you think that we've gone a bit off the rails with regards to the diplomatic situation when it's even a consideration? And don't you think that it's very odd that an Israeli minister, like, again, this is a person in their legislative body, is claiming that it's a possibility? I mean, where did he get the memo from? Are there internal discussions that we should be knowing about in order to better judge the situation of whether we want to support your ass? I think that's why Netanyahu decided to clamp down so quickly, by the way. When you have one of your government members saying this, the problem is they probably didn't develop the idea themselves now, isn't it? Could this be military doctrine? Could this be political doctrine that's simply not spoken of publicly because it would cause the whole world to crush you out of existence? I think that it is. I think that the problem, and the reason why Netanyahu responded so forcefully and so quickly, is that is the official doctrine. It is on the table to use nuclear weapons. This would be in line with the doctrine that Israel effectively espouses and at least alludes to once in a while, which is the Samson doctrine. If they feel like they're going to lose badly, they'll press the button, assuming that they have nukes that are operative. We know that they got nuclear triggers. The Pentagon assessed that back in the 80s. Again, I've talked about that declassed report. We know that they enriched material. They possibly exploded one nuclear weapon in coordination with South Africa, actually, at some point. It's likely that that was an Israeli weapon, not a rogue weapon that simply made its way to the southern tip of Africa for no reason. We suspect that. We know they have the technological capability, nuclear power, etc. It's within their capabilities. The official doctrine is ambiguity, overlapped with the Samson option. Effectively, we're not going to tell you whether we got nukes, but if we do have nukes and you corner us, we're going to press the button and nuke you all, so fuck off. That doctrine sort of makes sense from a strategic approach when you're a very small nation. Basically, like, we don't really have anywhere to flee to if you attack us and start winning, so you shouldn't do that because there's a possibility that you get annihilated. Again, we don't know if those nuclear weapons are operable. It could all be nothing more than smoke and mirrors and bloviation by the Israelis because they can't maybe maintain the systems they did develop. We don't know if they were fully developed. It's just the Pentagon's own report, again, against a group which has notoriously good intel capabilities, which is Israel. Their intel and espionage is top-notch. If anyone's going to fool the goddamn Pentagon, it would be the Israelis. Here's the problem, though. Sacking the minister is good, because it deflames things maybe a little bit. Netanyahu can always make an example of him. And it could be that Netanyahu told him to make these comments so that he could deliberately sack him and say to the world, look, no, don't worry. It could be much worse for the people in Gaza, but we're not going to go that far. We're going to keep using standard munitions. Blinken the other day allegedly alluded to the Israelis that he would prefer that they use, like, smaller bombs in Gaza, if I'm remembering the story that I saw the other day correctly. I was a little bit tired because I was woken up at about 4 o'clock in the morning by the baby, so, I'm not sure. Maybe it was just a fucking dream, for all I know. Yesterday I was a little bit out of it. You may have noticed in my videos, for some reason, one of them was soaring right along. Anyway, the concept of nuking, again, a largely civilian center is nuts. He's nuts to suggest it. Netanyahu had no choice but to sack him, and again, possibly told him to make these comments so that he could make that overture. We're on so many layers of propaganda right now that what would normally be conceived of as probably a conspiracy theory is actually plausible. Netanyahu is using the minister, throwing him under the bus in order to deflame things a little bit, prevent people from thinking he's nuts, which I don't think it affects many of the pro-Palestine crowd, but it's good to know that officially Bibi doesn't want to nuke 1 million people. That's good. It's an improvement. Some people were confused about his stance on that, I think, before. That's possible. Could be that it's because this is an official central doctrine, and he just wasn't supposed to talk about it, but he didn't get the memo. Hey, asshole, you're fired. Why? All I did was say what we're actually considering. Yes, but you're not supposed to actually say it. You're supposed to only say it when you're around other people in the know, you idiot. And so he sacks him. Both of these are scarily plausible scenarios at the moment. Anyway, the war rages on. There will apparently be no nuking of Gaza, but it kind of looks like it already got hit by at least an atomic weapon. And it looks like fucking Fallout. In Fallout 3, when you first, go out over the hill outside of the vault and you look over this vast vista and it's like complete wreckage and shit that used to be a city and now it's, ruined. It looks kind of like that. That's basically the color of Gaza is dust at the moment. All the bright colors are pretty much gone other than when an explosion is happening. Then you get a little bit of red and orange in there and a little purple maybe, depending on the chemicals used. You might get other colors, but that's basically it. Complete wreckage. Utterly destroyed. But there's a Legacy Media article. I hate to point out that the Legacy Media article has like an apt title on RCP right now. And it's like, okay, what happens to Gaza after all of this? Considering the amount of infrastructure, the sheer number of buildings destroyed, roads that have been cratered, bridges and shit, everything is gone. Hospitals, schools, universities, colleges, medical centers, power stations. Again, you could extend this list. I could make a 10-minute video just listing off the kinds of things that have been bombed. What happens? Israel would have to spend an inordinate amount of money to either rebuild the infrastructure or supply Gaza anyway after it's done. It's now an open-ended question what the fuck happens afterwards. We're not sure how long the incursions by Israel are going to last, by the way. They swear up and down they're going to root out all of Hamas and destroy them all. Again, that would probably require at least a couple 100,000 civilian casualties. It would be a massacre. It'd be a mass killing. Like, it would end up on a Wikipedia list of worst mass killings ever if you were to do that. You're steadily making progress towards that now. What's the death toll in Palestine now? 10,000 or thereabouts? I think that's ballpark. At least the bodies you could identify. The ones that weren't completely vaporized and they were someone that wasn't notable enough in the neighborhood for anyone to account for them or something like that. Maybe it's 12, 13,000. We're probably never going to know the full answer. That's the other problem. The fog of war has set in. Largely, we don't know what's going on. This was a very visible thing, though. Netanyahu very visibly and verbally came out almost immediately and said, he's gone. Don't worry, I'm not going to nuke Gaza. The fact that he had to even point that out should scare more people. It should be frightening to them. Not frightening in the sense of, quick, give the government more power, I'm in danger, but frightening in the sense of there are actually people in the world that think these things. This minister appears to have been serious. He appears to have been referring to an internal military doctrine. Again, the other possibility being that Netanyahu, thankfully, is just using him for propaganda. Basically, you say something crazy, I sack you, so I look less crazy in return. I'm hoping that that's the case. I'm actually hoping that Netanyahu right now is pulling a fast one on the Western world. That's about all. Peace out.